Our worries largely stem from forgetting that we always like to meddle in other people's affairs, to focus on things that don't belong to us, and to excessively fret over issues we don't need to shoulder. Overthinking only weighs down our minds. Being overly meticulous only makes us more tired. Chasing too many things only pushes us into days of weariness. Only when we feel a little happiness in our hearts can our days truly be free and easy. Only when our body and mind are at peace do we realize how gentle life truly is. To find peace, sometimes we just need to take care of our own business, not pry into others' affairs, and certainly not try to interfere with what heaven and earth have ordained. When facing something disagreeable, it's better to say less than to say much, and better to say something at the right time than to say little. Before criticizing someone, examine whether you are kind enough, or if there are still things you need to improve. Don't be too harsh on those who make mistakes, but also don't associate closely with those unwilling to change. Knowing how to resolve sorrow is wisdom. Knowing how to share love is happiness. In this busy life, the older people get, the more easily they get caught up in worries, expectations, and then disappointments. We keep chasing external things, forgetting that true peace lies within our own hearts. Sometimes, looking back at things that once confused and annoyed us, we realize they are as light as the breeze blowing through a sun-drenched garden. There are pains we once thought we couldn't overcome, yet in the end, they turn into dust scattering in the wind. Life inherently has things that don't go as we wish, and people whose hearts are not pure. If we don't learn to take things lightly and let go, we will live in trouble and fatigue ourselves. No matter what happens, don't rush, don't be stubborn, be a little clear-headed, a little calm, a little open-minded, and you'll see that nothing is too difficult to release. If one day you feel like the whole world is turning its back on you, slow your breath. Sometimes the sun is still shining, but we're standing in the shade, so we think the day has turned dark. Sometimes the world is still beautiful, but our own mind is full of dust, which makes everything seem dim. Don't expect everyone to understand you, because everyone has their own life, interests, and concerns. It's enough just for you to understand what you're doing and why. Optimists often use a smile to hide things that don't go their way, while pessimists only complain and resent, forgetting the small joys of life that are present every second. Today, give yourself a moment of stillness, a deep breath, a moment calm enough to place your hand on your heart and listen to yourself. Life's path is never always smooth, so the twists and turns aren't meant to knock us down, but to help us cultivate resilience. No matter how many silent tears were shed yesterday, the sun still rises this morning. No matter how long the night may feel, dawn still breaks in the end. Don't collapse just because of temporary disappointments. Remember the expectations of those who love you. Even if you feel discouraged, don't quickly give in to problems. Sometimes the problem isn't with the work, but with our own mind. Life is like a long flow. Sometimes clear, sometimes muddy, sometimes rainy and stormy, sometimes sunny. But if the mind knows how to awaken, everything will lighten. And once the mind is at peace, we will be clear-headed enough to see that suffering or happiness are just like waves passing over the surface of life. Nothing lasts forever, and nothing is lost forever. Let every word here guide you back to your inherent peace. A slow journey, a path of breath, a step back to oneself, where the sorrows that once entangled you will gradually dissolve like morning mist under the inner sunlight. There are evenings when people lie down, but their hearts won't settle. The room is silent, only the ticking of the clock, like gentle taps on the uneasiness within. The entire body is tired, but the mind still wanders somewhere. Amidst questions, confusions, and unnamed premonitions. People call this overthinking, worrying, inner unrest. But in reality, sometimes it's like a cold wind blowing through, making the heart tremble, already weary from life's burdens. We worry about a small thing, and then imagine 100 larger ones. We fear someone's glance, and then deduce an entire foolish story from it. We forget that we are the ones adding wind to the fire of anxiety, making it burn uncontrollably. So many people today live with that feeling. The feeling of walking on a path where the ground beneath is soft and the clouds above are swirling. The feeling of being afraid to step on something undesirable if they keep moving, but also afraid of not keeping up with life's changes if they stop. We don't know whether to keep going or to stop. We only know that our heart keeps pulling us into whirlpools of thought. Then we sigh, without knowing why we sigh. We are sad, without knowing what makes us sad. We stay up late, without understanding why sleep stands at the door and refuses to enter. But if we stop very gently, we will realize something that Buddhist philosophy has stated for a very long time. People suffer not because of events, but because of their perspective on those events. Just as when walking in the dark, we see the shadow of a tree on the wall and imagine it to be something frightening. But when the sunlight rises, we realize it's just the silhouette of ordinary branches and leaves. The event is like the tree. Our anxiety is like the elongated shadow on the wall. The shadow is distorted. The shadow is exaggerated. The shadow trembles. The shadow easily misleads people into thinking it's a giant monster. But in reality, the tree is still just a tree. Life is still just inherently neutral events. Only our heart is the one that exaggerates, distorts, and makes everything heavier. Once, someone asked the Buddha, "What do people worry about?" He replied that worry comes from ignorance. Ignorance is not seeing the true nature of things, mistaking illusion for reality, thinking something will happen even though it hasn't come. It's clinging tightly to a fear that doesn't belong to us. People suffer because they think they are solving a problem, but in reality, they are solving a delusion in their mind. Today, we still worry like that. We worry about heaven and earth, about what others think, about the future changing, about not being good enough, about others abandoning us, about work being difficult. We keep piling invisible stones onto our hearts, and then wonder why we are tired, why we are exhausted, why we can't breathe deeply. But there's a small story that can help us understand better. It's the story of Ms. Han in apartment number 12. Her small room is at the end of the hallway, under a yellow lamp hanging right at the edge of the window. Every evening, passing by, You could see that light casting down onto the cold, tiled floor, creating a soft glow, like a leftover sunbeam after a long day. But in that room, a young woman felt none of the peace of that light on the tiles. Ms. Han worked in an office. Her job was ordinary, like many others, but her mind was filled with worries that sometimes she couldn't name. Every evening, when she got home, she would sit on the edge of her bed, open her laptop, review her work, check every email, reread every sentence, just to confirm that she hadn't made any mistakes. But the more she read, the more she worried. The more she looked, the more she feared. She was afraid her boss would think she lacked responsibility, afraid colleagues would misunderstand, afraid people were judging her without her knowing, afraid a small mistake would cause major consequences. Every night, a very soft sigh from Ms. Han would echo in that small apartment, like the sound of wind whistling through a crack in the door. Light, but long, thin, but heavy. Not just work. She worried about things that hadn't even happened. Thinking about her family, she feared her parents would get sick in the future. Thinking about her younger sister, she worried her sister hadn't settled her life yet. Thinking about herself, she feared something would come that she wouldn't be prepared for. She held these worries in her heart, like holding dry leaves. The more she held, the fuller she felt. But none of those leaves actually held value or weight. Yet her heart was tired. Her mind was heavy every single night. Everything in that room seemed to shrink. Only the worry in her heart grew. Then one night, the power in the entire apartment building went out due to heavy rain. The rain fell on the corrugated iron roof, sounding like 100 hands drumming. The room plunged into complete darkness. Only the damp smell of the air, the smell of the wind that had just blown through, the smell of earth after the rain. At that moment, Ms. Han intended to turn on her phone light to continue working. But her phone battery was only a few percent. Finally, she was forced to sit still in the dark. No light, no work, no email alerts. Just darkness. Light as a blanket covering everything. In that darkness, for the first time in many months, she did nothing. She didn't open her computer, didn't check messages, didn't think about what needed to be done tomorrow. She just sat there, hands on her knees, breath gently touching the air, heartbeat very faint, a stillness she had never touched before. And in that stillness, she suddenly realized something that daylight often obscured. All the things she worried about, for the most part, had never happened. 90% of the fears in her heart were just stories she made up. Her work was fine. Her boss still recognized her efforts. Colleagues still liked her. Her family was still safe. But in her heart, everything was like a huge storm. And she felt she had to run, to hurry, to worry, to prepare for things that seemed certain to come. But it turned out, nothing came. The sky outside was still raining, but in her heart, another rain was also falling. A rain that washed away superfluous questions, cleansed mistaken imaginings, extinguished the fires fueled by her own anxieties. She understood that her worries were not in life itself. They were in her mind, like a body of water constantly disturbed by the wind. As soon as the wind stopped, the water would naturally become still and reflect the clear sky. Similarly, if the human mind simply stops, all worries will naturally disappear. Not because the problems have been solved, but because the problems never truly existed as we once thought. In Buddhist teachings, this is called vongtuong, delusional thoughts. Delusional thoughts are unreal images, thoughts, and emotions that agitate our minds. We think so much that we believe what we imagine is real. We are so afraid that we forget that all those things are just shadows. Our mind is like a small, rented room. When we let the light of worry shine in, the shadows will startle and run around. But if we turn off all that light, leaving only breath and stillness, we will see that darkness is not scary. It is just a natural part of life. In that moment of power outage, Ms. Han realized something that perhaps she had never noticed before. Stillness of mind is not about abandoning work and going into the forest. It's not about fleeing responsibility. It's not about turning your back on life. Stillness of mind is standing in the midst of life with a mind that is not swept away, looking at things with clear eyes, embracing oneself with a soft heart, breathing slowly to realize that most of the worries we perceive as storms are just thin mist under the sunlight. People overthink because they want to control, but life cannot be grasped, like holding water in your hand. The tighter you hold, the more it slips away. Conversely, if you open your hand, the water naturally remains in your palm. When we want everything to go our way, we worry. When we want everything to be perfect, we fear. When we want to avoid risks, we overthink. But if we understand that everything in life is impermanent and interconnected by causes and conditions, that some things come and go like leaves blown by the wind, that some things we cannot control, and that suffering is also a part of the journey, we will be much lighter. Life is not always peaceful. Sometimes the sky is clear. Sometimes there's a storm. Sometimes sunlight floods through the window. Sometimes dark clouds cover the sky. But inside every person, there is always a private sky. That sky can be stormy or sunny. And what determines it is not the life outside, but how we stand within it. To escape worry, we must return to our own breath. Breath is the thread that ties us to the present. When we breathe deeply, our mind settles. When we breathe slowly, illusory thoughts dissipate. Take a breath in, we gather what is scattered. Breathe out, we release what doesn't belong to us. Each breath is a door opening to peace. Each breath is a flower blooming at our feet. Each breath is a sun rising in our heart. We can also practice by looking at things with a lighter perspective. Don't think too deeply when someone says something disagreeable. Don't overinterpret when your day has a slight glitch. Don't let your heart be heavy over something that hasn't happened. Remind yourself that everything is impermanent. All anxieties will eventually dissipate. All fears will pass. All storms will calm. Like the rain earlier at Ms. Han's apartment complex. The rain falls and then stops. Only the earth after the rain is greener. And so it is with the human heart after a storm. It may be tired, but it will understand itself better. It may be wet, but it will be softer. It may be hurt, but it will grow stronger. If we know how to let go, our mind will be as vast as the sky. If we know how to be gentle, our heart will be like flowing water. If we know how to stop, the path within our heart will become smooth. If we know how to look at reality worry will turn into white clouds drifting by. Ultimately, what we need most is not a life without difficulties. What we need is a heart calm enough to face difficulties without trembling. Not an easy path, but a steadfast mind. Not a sky always clear, but the inner sun always shining. Gently remind yourself that you deserve peace. You deserve to breathe deeply. You deserve to live lightly, like clouds drifting high in the sky. When the mind settles, life naturally becomes gentle. When the heart calms, worries dissolve like smoke on a misty lake. And when we learn how to still our minds, we will see that peace has never left us. It is still within us, waiting for us to return. There are days when a person's heart feels heavier than even an early season rain, not because of the wind and storms outside, but because of what we hold on to in our minds for too long. An old word, a sad memory, a person who has left, a matter that no longer concerns us. All these things sometimes feel like stones in a pocket. They seem small and light, but the longer the journey, the more their weight presses on our shoulders. People often suffer, not from what is happening, but from what has passed and still lingers in their minds. We may have moved on from an old situation, but our heart remains there, like a child refusing to leave. Someone once said that memories are like leaves falling onto a lake. If left untouched, the water remains clear. But if you keep stirring it, the lake will become murky. Similarly, some things from yesterday only need to lie quietly at the bottom of our hearts. But we keep touching them, recalling them, allowing our minds to return to places we tried to leave. Then we ask ourselves why we are tired, why our hearts are heavy, why our footsteps slow down in the middle of life's journey. Stillness of mind is learning to let go. But letting go is not giving up everything. Letting go is allowing the heart to be light, allowing the soul to have more space for light to enter, allowing good things to blossom within. Don't hold on to things that tire your heart forever. Don't carry things that don't belong to the present. Don't let old memories make you forget who you are today. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a beautiful word called impermanence, vo thuong. Impermanence reminds us that everything comes and goes. Feelings come and go, people come and go, joys come and go, even sorrows come and go. Nothing in this world stays the same forever. The more we try to hold on, the more it hurts. The more we try to cling, the more tired we become. The more we embrace, the more we are weighed down. When we understand impermanence, we will know that the only thing we can do is open our hearts so that what needs to leave leaves, what needs to come comes, and what no longer belongs to us cannot stay, no matter how much we wish otherwise. Among the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, there is the truth that the cause of suffering comes from clinging. When we cling tightly to something lost, suffering will follow us. When we embrace someone who has left, suffering will follow us. When we hold on to a memory that no longer has value, suffering will follow us. It's like grasping a thorny branch. The tighter we hold, the more it hurts. To end the pain, we just need to let go. But people find it difficult to let go because of fear, because of habit, because of dependence on familiar things. Therefore, The journey of freeing oneself from unnecessary things is always a long and challenging one. Mr. Min in this story is such a person. In his small room, he kept an old box in the corner of his closet. The light brown box was frayed at the corners. Every time he saw it, his heart filled with emotions he couldn't name. Inside the box were items from a past relationship, a few photos, a handwritten letter, a scarf she used to wear, a small ka that no longer had practical value, but carried emotional weight. Everything fit neatly in the box, but the sadness it carried never fit neatly in his heart. Mr. Min had once been in love, and that love had made him as happy as a sun-drenched morning. But then one day, that love left. Not because anyone was wrong, not because anyone betrayed, but simply because the karmic connection had run its course. It was over, like two streams meeting and then splitting in two directions, like two leaves touching in the wind and then being blown away in different directions. Everything ended so gently, yet in Mr. Min's heart, the feeling was not light at all. After the breakup, he told no one. He just quietly gathered all the mementos and put them in that box. He thought that when everything was stored away in the closet, the emotions would also disappear. But no, empty evenings kept returning. Seeing people holding hands on the street would sting him a little. Old songs would make his heart sink, and every time he was sad, he would open that box, touch the old items, and let the pain start all over again. Many people, like Mr. Min, think that holding on is remembering, that holding on is cherishing. But in reality, holding on is sometimes just a way to hurt ourselves more. There are memories that need to be cherished, but there are also memories that should simply be put down. Some things, if held on to, only make the heart heavier. Don't hold on out of regret. Don't hold on out of habit. Don't hold on out of fear that letting go means forgetting. Some sorrows should be released so that we can move forward. Then one morning, Mr. Min woke up feeling more tired than usual. Not because of work, not because of the weather, but because his heart was utterly weary. He sat by the window, watching the sunlight stream through the white curtains. The light cast down like soft silk ribbons onto the floor. In that moment, he suddenly understood that what was hurting him was not the person who had left, but himself. The one who kept holding on to old memories, holding on to what he didn't need. He held on because he was afraid to face the emptiness. But the emptiness was not as scary as he thought. Emptiness is where new things can enter. But if the mind is full of nostalgia, where will new things find a place? That afternoon, he decided to open the box. When he lifted the lid, a rustling sound of paper echoed. In the quiet room, the small sound touched him deeply. He picked up each item, looking at it for a long time, not to remember, but to say goodbye. He said in his heart, "Thank you for the days we loved each other. Thank you for the joys that came. And thank you even for this sorrow. Because if not for it, I wouldn't have known how fragile my heart is." He put everything back into the box. But this time it was different. He didn't put it back in the closet. He carried that box to a second-hand shop that he used to pass by every morning. The shop was under the shade of a large banyan tree. In front of the shop were a few small pots of blooming flowers, yellow, white, purple. Looking at them made his heart feel a little lighter. He walked in, placed the box on the counter. The shop owner asked if he was sure he wanted to leave it. He nodded. His gaze was gentle and soft, as if he had just shed a cloud from his mind. That evening, for the first time in a very long time, Mr. Min felt his heart empty, but not sad, light, but not hollow, spacious, but not lost. It felt as if a door in his heart had opened. A new breeze had blown in. A new sky was waiting. He understood that he hadn't lost anything. He had simply returned old things to their rightful place. He had freed his heart from an invisible box he had held for many years. Letting go is not erasing. Letting go is knowing that things of the past no longer need to be imprisoned. Letting go is allowing your mind to rest, like setting down a heavy burden after a long journey, like taking a heavy backpack off your shoulders, like stepping out of a dark room into a sun-drenched courtyard. When the heart is light, life will be light. But letting go is not easy, because the human heart has a habit of clinging to familiar things. Even when those things hurt us, people may not be happy in old memories, but they feel safe because it is too familiar. Therefore, letting go is always a journey of confronting oneself, confronting the fear of loss, confronting loneliness, confronting emptiness, confronting the unknown. Everyone has memory boxes like Mr. Min's. Some keep them in a drawer. Some hide them in a corner of the room. Some put them in a desk. But most are hidden in the heart. These invisible boxes can hold a love, a friend who has gone far away, a half-finished dream, a word that once hurt us, a plan that couldn't be realized. Many boxes don't contain objects, but rather emotions that were never released. And the more you hide them, the heavier they become. The more you forget them, the deeper they penetrate. If we don't learn to put them down, we will forever walk through life with tired shoulders. If we don't know how to let go, we will forever live with a bound heart. If we don't free ourselves from unnecessary things, we won't be able to step into new days with peace of mind. Learn to look back at your heart with honesty. Ask yourself, what in my mind is weighing me down? What is too old to keep? What no longer fits this journey? What has fulfilled its purpose in my life? Only when you see clearly will you know what you need to let go of. Try starting with small things. Clear your heart by stopping thinking about things that no longer have value. Let memories rest in their rightful place in the past. Let sad emotions pass without holding on to them. Let the person who left leave once more in your mind. Let new things have room to enter. Without emptiness, there will be no fullness. Breath is a door. When you breathe in deeply, you receive yourself. When you breathe out slowly, you release what is superfluous. Each breath is a release. Each breath is a cleaning away of dust from your heart. Each breath is a reminder to yourself that peace lies not in holding on, but in letting go. In life, there are things that hurt us when we hold on to them, but lighten us when we let them go. There are people who enter our lives just to teach us a lesson and then leave. There are memories not meant to be clung to, but to remind us that we once lived wholeheartedly. There are dreams that leave us with growth, not regret. If one day your heart feels as heavy as Mr. Min's once did, try opening the box in your heart. Look at it with gentleness. Know that nothing in it was useless. Every memory has its own value. But that value isn't always about holding on. Sometimes it's just for us to understand and then put down. When we know how to let go of unnecessary things, our hearts will be as light as clouds drifting over a mountaintop. The sky within our minds will be brighter. Sunlight will shine on places long overshadowed by old memories. And then we will see that life has never closed off to us. It only waits for us to open our hearts to move forward. Remember that the person most deserving of peace is you. The person who needs the most gentleness is you. The person who needs to smile first is also you. When you free yourself from unnecessary things, you are giving yourself the greatest gift: a light heart, a spacious soul, a new path, and a tomorrow full of peace. In days when our hearts feel constricted, perhaps everyone has wondered why life has so many things that don't go our way. Why people can easily make us sad with just a single word. Why things that should have been beautiful turn out incomplete. Why those we love the most sometimes hurt us. After so many days and months, we realize that no one lives a complete day without stumbling upon something that makes their heart sink. Sometimes it's just an unfriendly glance, an unintentional word, a careless action. Sometimes it's an entire relationship suddenly cracking. Sometimes it's us blaming ourselves for not being good enough, not patient enough, not forgiving enough with loved ones. Then we grow up with those disappointments. The human heart has many hidden corners, and life has many things that don't go as we wish. We long to be loved, and then we are disappointed. We long to be understood, and then we feel sorry for ourselves. We wish ourselves to be perfect, and then we torment ourselves over small mistakes. While in reality, no one in this world is without flaws. Even the seemingly strongest people carry hidden struggles and unnamed sorrows in their hearts. Each person is like a ceramic pot that is cracked in a few places. And it is those very cracks that make them know how to love each other more deeply, to be lighter in heart when hearing others' stories. If we pay close attention, we will see that most of our pain does not come from external events, but from the expectations we place on life. We want others to understand us. We want our actions to be recognized. We want our family to be warm and peaceful. We want everything to go according to plan. When life doesn't follow the path we desire, we feel sad and dissatisfied. But in Buddhism, there is a simple truth. Life is impermanent. What we hold in our hands can leave at any time. People change. Events change. Our minds also change. Everything moves like waves, hard to keep still. If we don't understand impermanence, we easily collect every mistake of others and keep them in our hearts for too long. If we don't understand karma, we easily think someone intentionally made us so, when perhaps they are also suffering from their own difficulties. If we don't understand the truth of suffering, we easily believe that only we are unhappy, when everyone has their own hidden corners. And if we don't understand letting go, we will remain burdened by hundreds of small things and exhaust ourselves without realizing it. there is a gentle philosophy of life that is difficult to practice, accepting that life is not perfect and that the people we love are also not flawless. This acceptance is not giving up or being indifferent. It is like opening a window in our heart so that the wind can pass through. When we open our hearts, we no longer try to force the world to fit our mold. We don't try to make others live according to our desires. We don't force our minds to suffer over things beyond our control. Acceptance means understanding that everything has a reason to be as it is. Acceptance means knowing that others also make mistakes, just like us. Acceptance means knowing that in a storm, some things are not to be fought against, but to learn how to bend. Like a flexible branch that sways with the wind, it ultimately lasts longer than rigid tree trunks. Life sometimes tests us through these very imperfections. Undesirable events happen so that we learn to look at everything with more compassion. When we meet an unpleasant person, it may be an opportunity to learn patience. When we encounter something wrong, it may be an opportunity to learn wisdom. When we face our own shortcomings, it may be an opportunity to learn to love ourselves more. But the journey of accepting imperfection is not always smooth. There are days when we feel like we are walking on a stony path. A small remark can make our hearts tremble. An action by a loved one can make us burst into tears. A mistake of our own can make us feel terrible. And every time we wish life to be beautiful, we feel more disappointment. Perhaps it's because we forget that the most beautiful flower is the one that has been buffeted by wind and rain. The soul that knows the most love is the soul that has experienced brokenness. If we want to heal, the first thing to do is not to change someone or fix the world. The first thing is to open our hearts to the imperfection within us and in life. When we know that the person in front of us is also struggling like us. When we know that every mistake contains a lesson. When we know that every brokenness opens an opportunity for us to grow. Then we will complain less, impose less, and be less hurt by small things. Our mind then becomes like a calm lake. Even if the wind blows strongly, it only ripples briefly before quickly settling down. There is a small story that leaves many people feeling warm-hearted. The story of Mrs. Lan's salty soup. That evening, the small kitchen was filled with wafting steam. Mrs. Lan stood by the simmering pot of soup, her face gentle and her hands slowly stirring. That day, she seasoned it a bit heavily, making the soup saltier than usual. Her daughter-in-law walked into the kitchen, already irritable after a tiring day, and was about to say something. But then, she just saw her mother-in-law gently taste a little of the soup, smile faintly, and say calmly, "Today, I was a bit careless. I'll learn from this." That moment warmed the small kitchen. The daughter-in-law felt her heart slow down. Her mother-in-law's forgiving attitude was like a small lamp placed in the dark night, not bright, but enough to bring quietness to others. And then she understood that some things we perceive as very large turn out to be incredibly small if we know how to look at them with a more generous heart. That salty soup became a lesson in acceptance, in compassion, in how a person can plant peace in another's heart with just a gentle word. From then on, she realized that in every family, everyone makes mistakes sometimes, loses their temper sometimes, gets tired sometimes. If everyone demanded that others be correct in every small action, the family would never be warm. And she began to look at everything with a gentler eye. When someone made a mistake, she remembered Mrs. Land's smile. When she herself made a mistake, she no longer blamed herself for too long. She understood that everyone is just a human being on a journey, learning to live better every day. Life becomes easier to breathe when we stop demanding it to be perfect. People become more endearing when we accept them as they are. We become lighter-hearted when we no longer force ourselves to be so good that we make no mistakes. Healing begins with a very small realization. The realization that life doesn't have to be perfect for us to find peace. Peace comes from how we face that imperfection. If we keep wanting everything to go our way, we will always be tired. But if we know how to stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and tell ourselves that mistakes are normal, then we will feel strangely light. Then, naturally, we know that there are things we need to let go of, people we need to forgive, memories we need to put away, unspoken words we need to let pass, and mistakes we need to pardon. Acceptance is not a compromise with pain. It is the growth that comes after we have walked through that pain. Like a lotus blooming from mud, yet retaining its pure fragrance. The compassionate heart is the same. The more it experiences, the more it knows how to love itself and life. If you are tired because someone doesn't understand you, remember that they are also just learning to grow, just like you. If you are helpless because of your own shortcomings, remember that no one is born perfect. If you are sad because something didn't go as planned, remember that impermanence is the nature of the human world. Nothing stays in one place forever. No sorrow is insurmountable. No wound cannot heal if we give it time. To practice acceptance, you can start with very small things in your day. When someone says something that annoys you, try to think that perhaps they are also having a difficult day. When you mess something up, tell yourself that a small mistake is okay. You'll do it again tomorrow. When there's an unpleasant family matter, let your heart soften a little. When you get angry, breathe slowly and realize that the emotion is just passing by. When something doesn't go as you wish, remind yourself that everything happens for a reason. Gradually, you will find your mind becoming lighter, like a falling leaf that no longer disturbs the lake's surface, like a breeze passing through, but no longer shaking your heart. When the mind is calm, the scene is calm. When the heart is spacious, life is spacious. Each time you accept something imperfect, a flower blooms within you. Each time you forgive a little more, the sunlight shines brighter in your heart. The Zen Buddhist channel only wants to send a very gentle message. Whether you are walking on a sunny day or a rainy day, whether you are happy or sad, whether you feel strong or very weak, remember that you don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just need to be authentic. You just need to live kindly. You just need to open your heart and allow life to be itself. When you accept life's imperfections, you will find peace very close. Resting a little in compassion, you will see your heart light up like a small star. And when you know how to love yourself and others like that, you will walk through life with a light and peaceful soul. There are days when life pours down on our shoulders like a heavy rain. Suddenly, there are many things to do and little time, and worries abound. from the smallest things to issues that seem beyond our capacity. People in the flow of life always face countless situations. When things are gentle, we find everything easy to breathe. But when pressure weighs down, when the mind is still weak, we feel our hearts stretched to the point where there is no peace left. At such times, people often ask themselves why their mind is so tired. Why even a small matter can make their heart so confused. And it is at such times that people begin to yearn to find stillness within themselves. Stillness of mind is not seeking a perfectly quiet place to escape life, nor is it abandoning responsibilities or what is happening out there. Stillness of mind is the ability to stand still from within. Even when there is much noise outside, much chaos, many things that can easily make us lose our calm. A person with a still mind is not someone without worries. A person with a still mind is someone who looks at worries with a bright, steady, and clear mind amidst a busy life. What tires us most is not the tasks we have to do, but the state of mind we carry while doing them. It might be a day with many tasks to complete, but if the mind is calm, we feel light. If the mind is agitated, we feel heavy. When we lose our calm, every small task becomes a burden. When the mind is tangled like thread, what was simple becomes complicated. Stillness of mind is how we pause for a beat to see things for their true nature. When the mind is at peace, everything naturally becomes easier to breathe. But how to find stillness of mind amidst life's chaos? How to stand still while life is always moving? How to maintain peace when everything around makes us want to get angry? The ancients used to say that the root of all disorder lies within our own mind. If the mind is not steady, we are pulled by external circumstances. If the mind is bright, we can still maintain our direction no matter how many things pull us. Therefore, the journey to stillness of mind begins with returning inward, looking at ourselves and listening to the voice of our heart. There are days when you feel tired, but don't know why. Worried, but don't know about what. Your mind feels heavy, as if weighed down by stones. That's a sign that your inner world has accumulated too many chaotic sounds that you haven't yet cleared. Like a room that hasn't been cleaned for a long time, dust will accumulate. The mind is the same. If you only take in without ever sitting down to unload, to gently observe, then your mind will become so full that there's no longer enough room for peace. Stillness of mind is how you clean that inner room. You clean it not to make it empty, but to create space for clarity and serenity to enter. When we walk among the hurried crowds, we are often swept along by their pace of life. We hear the sounds of cars, people, and things that don't belong to us. Each sound makes our mind vibrate. And if the mind vibrates continuously, it's hard to stand still. A person with a still mind knows that all sounds can touch them, but they don't necessarily have to disturb them. They still hear, still feel, but they don't lose their inner stability. This is not innate, but cultivated, day by day, breath by breath, training the mind to be aware of its own presence. Someone asked why they try to calm their mind, but it remains chaotic. Why they seek quiet places, but their heart is still stormy. Why they avoid annoyances, but their mind is still full of thoughts. It's because stillness of mind is not about where you sit, but about how you see. It's not about escaping noise to find peace. If the inside is full of sound, then even in high mountains or deep forests, the mind will be as noisy as a city. To find stillness of mind, one must first accept that the world is always noisy. We cannot make the world quiet, but we can learn to be quiet within it. Sometimes our mind is confused because we take everything to heart. We think we have to control everything for life to be stable. We think if we don't worry, things will go wrong. But it is precisely taking on too much that makes us tired. Stillness of mind is not abandoning all responsibility. Stillness of mind is knowing what belongs to us and what doesn't. There are things that, no matter how much we worry, we cannot change. There are people whom, no matter how much we care about, we cannot control. Only when we know when to stop, allowing life to handle what it will naturally resolve, do we truly feel relieved. Fatigue largely begins with thought, not from reality, but from how we perceive reality. Two people encounter the same situation. One is calm, the other panics. This is not because the situation is different, but because their minds are different. Stillness of mind teaches us to look at the essence of things, instead of being carried away by momentary emotions. When we look at a matter with clear eyes and a steady mind, we see that everything has a way out. Calmness is the key that opens the door to solutions. Impatience only closes the door tightly. To find stillness of mind amidst life's busyness, we need to learn to pause. Pausing is not giving up. Pausing is giving the mind a moment to breathe. When the mind is stretched by pressure, give it a moment of rest. When the mind is swayed by thoughts, let it stand still for a bit. A deep breath, a moment of silence, a moment of self-observation. Just a small thing like that has the power to bring us back to equilibrium. The mind is like a lake. If constantly stirred, you cannot see the bottom clearly. But if you let the lake settle, each layer of water will naturally become clear again. The human mind is the same. Don't force it to be at peace immediately. Let the mind slow down naturally and return to its place. Many people think that stillness of mind requires complicated rituals or methods. In reality, stillness of mind begins with the simplest thing: recognizing your breath. When you recognize that you are breathing in, your mind is in the present. When you recognize that you are breathing out, your mind is standing still in this moment. Each breath is a thread that pulls us back. When we are carried away by thoughts, no one can stop their mind from thinking. But everyone can learn to pull their mind back through awareness. There are times, amidst life's rush, when you suddenly want to stop for a few seconds to feel your breath, not because you want to do anything special, but simply because your heart gently speaks, saying it's too tired. It wants to rest. It wants space to breathe. When you truly listen to your mind, you will realize that there is always a very peaceful place within you. It's just that you haven't visited it in a long time. That peaceful place is like a small house with an open door, patiently waiting for you to return. In the journey of finding inner peace, we must learn to see what is happening within us. When we are angry, recognize that we are angry. When we are sad, recognize that we are sad. When we are confused, recognize the vibration in our chest. Only when we identify emotions can we have the opportunity to transform them. Many people lose their peace, not because emotions are too strong, but because they try to deny their own emotions. They hide sadness behind a smile. They hide fear behind a strong facade. But the mind does not disappear just because you conceal it. It only settles down until it overflows, bursting into disorders that you find hard to explain. Stillness of mind is the process of opening space for emotions to exist, but not allowing them to control you. A person can live in the busiest place and still have a still mind. Another person can be in the quietest place, but their mind is full of great waves. This shows that peace lies in the mind, not in the external environment. When you focus on your inner self, you will realize that there may be a lot of noise around, but that noise does not reach the deepest part within you. Your mind is like an observer standing on the shore watching the water flow. The water can be rushing or calm, but the observer remains there, not swept away. When the mind stands firm, circumstances cannot disturb it. In modern life, there is a kind of fatigue that many people suffer from, but few realize it. It is fatigue from overthinking, not because the work is too heavy, but because the mind refuses to stop. The mind constantly works, moving from thinking about the past to worrying about the future, from thinking about one person's affairs to caring about another's. A day passes. The body works 10 parts, but the mind thinks 20 parts. Like this, the mind gradually becomes exhausted without us knowing. To calm the mind, we must learn to put thoughts down when they are no longer necessary. Not everything needs to be thought about to the point of exhaustion. Not everything that happens needs to be analyzed to its core. Many things simply need to be accepted, understood, and then allowed to flow through, like a river passing by grass. Stillness of mind is not a state of immobility, but rather a state of operating with awareness. When the mind is clear, whatever we do is clear. Listening clearly, speaking clearly, deciding clearly, not swayed by emotions, not haunted by obsessive thoughts that make us lose our direction. When the mind is clear, everything has a center. A person with a clear mind walks through life without losing themselves. They may be busy, but not hurried. They may worry, but not collapse. That clarity is like a small lamp shining from within, helping them navigate dark days without fear of getting lost. One way to cultivate stillness of mind is to create moments each day to return to yourself. Even for just 1 minute, you can refresh your mind. Just close your eyes and place your full attention on your breath. Listen to your breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Feel the warmth filling your body and the lightness as your breath leaves. Practicing this regularly, you will find your mind less agitated. Because breath is the anchor that holds you when your mind wants to drift away with thoughts. Breath is the bridge that brings you back to the present. When you calm your mind, you begin to see more clearly things you didn't notice before. You see that another person's anger actually stems from their own insecurity. You see that your sadness is a signal for you to take better care of your mind. You see that many conflicts in life are not as serious as you once thought. You see that most of the things that trouble you stem from the mind's exaggeration. When the mind is bright, small things no longer become heavy. When the mind is steady, difficult things become less frightening. Stillness of mind does not turn life into a smooth path. Stillness of mind helps us navigate a rough road without stumbling as often as before. Life's path is always full of challenges. Everyone has to face a mix of joys and sorrows. But those with a calm mind know how to choose their reactions. They don't let momentary emotions ruin an entire day. They don't let unintentional words from others keep them from sleep. They know to let go of things they cannot change and to take care of things within their control. This very choice creates lasting peace. There is an important thing that a person with a still mind always remembers. The mind cannot be at peace if we live in a hurry. When we rush through everything, the mind doesn't have a chance to settle. When we speak without knowing what we are saying, work without knowing what we are doing, live without knowing how we are living, the mind will always be stuck in a mess of chaos. Slowing down a bit doesn't make us lose to anyone. Slowing down a bit allows the mind enough space to see things more clearly. This slowness is not slowness in action, but slowness in how we perceive and process everything. This is the foundation of stillness of mind. When we learn to calm our minds, life will change in ways we don't expect. We will no longer be easily disturbed by small things. We will no longer be overly sensitive to criticism or praise from the world. We will look at everything with more composure. When others are angry, we don't react immediately, but listen to what they truly need. When our mind is pulled by a worry, we know to stop and ask if that worry is real or just an imagination. Small changes in the mind create big changes in life. A calm heart is not an indifferent heart. A calm heart is a heart that knows how to feel at the right time and how to remain steady in the right place. It is spacious enough to love, but does not allow love to become a bond that causes suffering. It is soft enough to understand, but also clear-sighted enough not to be exploited or excessively hurt. A person with a calm mind loves life, but is not exhausted by it, because they know that everyone has their own journey. No one can carry another's suffering completely. No one can force another to change when they are not ready. Understanding this makes us much lighter in heart. Sometimes we think we seek stillness of mind to find peace. In reality, peace is not something we have to run to find. Peace is something we open up from within. When the mind is still confused, no matter where we go, we feel uneasy. When the mind is bright and steady, no matter where we are, we feel at peace. Peace is the home of the mind. And when we learn how to still our minds, we are learning how to return to our own home. Amidst life's chaos, stillness of mind is not something distant. It lies in every breath. In every moment we pause. In every time we observe our emotions. In every choice we make with clarity instead of impulse. Stillness of mind is a lifelong journey, but it is also something we can begin right now. With just one deep breath and the full presence of mind, we have taken the first step on the path back to serenity. When the mind is calm, the scenery is beautiful. When the mind is bright, the path is wide. When the mind is steady, life is light. Stillness of mind does not help us avoid life's upheavals, but it helps us navigate them with ease without losing ourselves. This is the most precious thing. There are days when we walk on life's long and wide road, yet in our hearts, we feel as if we are treading on weary ground. We look at others and imagine they are stronger than us, happier than us, more complete than us. But when night falls, when all the sounds outside are left behind the door, we realize there are moments when only we confront ourselves, confronting unspoken things, hidden voids deep within, and unnamed sorrows. Such is human life. Sometimes we wish someone would understand, someone would listen, someone would be subtle enough to see that we need a gentle touch. But life doesn't always go our way, because each person carries their own story. Some are complete, but lonely. Some are lacking, but strong. Some are loved very much, but don't know how to love themselves. And some have no one by their side, yet they know how to embrace themselves very gently. If there are times when you feel empty, feel abandoned, feel like you are not good enough, then please don't blame yourself too much. Because in this endless cycle of life, everyone has moments when they don't take care of themselves. Everyone has forgotten at some point that their heart also needs rest. Their shoulders also need to relax. And their breath also needs to slow down to listen to itself. People often say that loving someone else is easy, but loving yourself is difficult. Difficult because we always place expectations on ourselves. Difficult because we always think we need to be strong not to bother anyone. Difficult because we are used to enduring, used to being silent, used to bracing ourselves to be a support for those around us. Then one day, we realize we are exhausted, not because life is too harsh, but because we have forgotten to take care of the most important person in our life, ourselves. From a Buddhist perspective, human suffering often arises from a lack of understanding of the self. We cling to things we think we must have. We chase the perfect image that society expects. We embrace criticism as if it were absolute truth. And we forget one thing. Everything in life is impermanent. Joy is impermanent. Sorrow is impermanent. Success is impermanent. Failure is impermanent. People are also impermanent. Everything follows the law of arising and ceasing. When we understand this, we realize that being too harsh on ourselves only makes our hearts heavier. If our body hurts, we know to soothe it. Yet when our mind hurts, we neglect it. If a friend is sad, we will comfort them. Yet when we are hamtuktigiai ourselves, we blame ourselves for being weak. This is the root of fatigue, the root of exhaustion, the root of long, sleepless nights. Try looking inward for a moment. From childhood, we learned how to please others. We learned how to make someone happy. We learned how to smile when needed. We learned how to hide our hurt. But rarely were we taught how to love ourselves. Few people taught us that if we feel tired, we should stop. Few people taught us that if our heart feels heavy, we should embrace ourselves. Few people reminded us that sometimes just letting go of the pressure, we will find that life also has clear spaces to lean on. There are moments we go through where our heart feels like it's being pushed back by the wind. A small reproach can hurt us. A small failure can make us doubt ourselves. But if we look deeply into its nature, we will see that the pain does not come from the event, but from how we perceive the event. A criticism might just be the temporary emotion of the other person. A failure might just be a small challenge from life. A tiring day might just be a sign for us to rest. But we look at them with the heaviness of a heart that has been unsoothed for too long. We brace ourselves and continue. We run without thinking. We want to be the best, but we forget that the best thing we should do is become a refuge for ourselves. If we pay attention, we will realize that every sorrow has a very subtle origin. We are sad because expectations aren't met. We are sad because no one understands us. We are sad because we always try hard, but want more recognition. From these psychological states, worry and overthinking begin to arise. Our mind is like a small room filled with old items, old words, old disappointments, old memories. They take up all the space, leaving us no room to breathe. The Buddha taught that for the mind to be at peace, one must first know how to let go. Let go of the past. Let go of what cannot be changed. Let go of false perceptions about oneself. Each time we let go a little, we become a little lighter. Each time we release a burden from our heart, the space within our mind expands. And when there is enough space, the flower of peace will find its way to bloom. If we look back at our lives, we will see that there are times when we need a gentle touch from ourselves more than anyone else. Like Mr. Tung, the driver in the small story of a slow afternoon. He drove from morning till night, carrying people from one place to another, listening to his passengers' stories, seeing their happy and sad faces. But he himself forgot to listen to his own body. Every day he came home, his shoulders ached, his back was exhausted, his mind sank. But he still told himself to try a little more. This continued until one afternoon, he stopped his car under the shade of a tree by the road. No passengers, no horns, only the rustling of leaves. He opened his water bottle, took a small sip, and then placed his hand on his shoulder. Gently rubbing, he took a very slow, very deep breath, as if he hadn't truly breathed in months. In that moment, he understood that if he didn't take care of himself, no one else could. From that very small experience, he realized that self-love is not a grand thing, not a luxurious trip, not excessive indulgence. It's simply knowing when you need to rest, when you need to be silent, when you need to embrace yourself and say that you've tried your best. Sometimes, life is like a misty road, making us feel weary wherever we look. And every obstacle seems difficult. Amidst the city noise, the hurried pace of life, and the expectations of so many people, we forget that we also need to breathe and rest. No matter how strong the heart is, there are days when it just wants to find a peaceful haven to lean on. When we can no longer bear the burden, the sky within begins to collapse, and only we can bring the light back. Everyone goes through moments when they feel forgotten by the world. At such times, what we long for most is not admiration or recognition, but just a gentle touch on the heart to remind us that we are still human, still have a place to lean on ourselves. Self-love is not boundless indulgence, but knowing our limits and cherishing every breath. When the body speaks through aches and pains, or the soul speaks through melancholy, we must not pretend to be fine. The more we pretend, the more silently the wound widens, and the greater the loneliness. In the light of Buddhist teachings, this body is a boat that carries us across the sea of suffering. Taking care of the body and nourishing the mind is like maintaining that boat so it doesn't break apart. If we drift in the current without mending the torn parts, one day we will sink beneath our own worries. The Buddha once taught that life is impermanent. Everything changes day by day, and even health, spirit, and peace are not exempt from this truth. Therefore, if we don't cherish what is most precious, it will silently leave, like dew dissolving under the morning sun. Loving oneself means seeing that preciousness, knowing that we need to be cared for, nurtured, and cherished. The life of Mr. Tung, the taxi driver in the small story we mentioned, is an image of many people. His hands are tanned from holding the steering wheel all day. His eyes are tired from racing against time and striving for a living. Yet, in the moment he decided to stop, sit down, pour a glass of water, and gently massage his aching shoulders, we see an entire inner sky descend. His sigh is no longer a complaint, but a return to the very body he had long neglected. When we ask why a small act like stopping for 15 minutes could change his soul so profoundly, the answer lies in mindfulness. It was the first time in many months he looked at himself with clear eyes not clouded by responsibility or pressure. It was the moment he realized that if he didn't love himself, no one else could love for him. No one could drink water for him to quench his thirst. No one could breathe for him to alleviate his exhaustion. And no one could live for him to lessen his fatigue in a demanding life. In modern life, people easily forget that they, too, are living beings who need protection. We are accustomed to dedicating all our energy to work, family, and those we love, without ever asking how our own heart is doing. Each time we look back, we realize our soul has been starving for too long. It lacks attention, warmth, and even the words of encouragement we often give to others. Sometimes we tell friends to be strong, but we are not gentle enough to say those words to ourselves. Mindfulness helps us know what we need. Some need a full night's sleep. Some need a hot meal in the middle of the day. Some just need to walk slowly on a familiar path, feeling the wind on their face and allowing their heart to relax. Some just need to cry it out, to let all accumulated sorrows dissipate. When we know how to give ourselves these simple things, we feel lighter, and our mind is no longer tense like a guitar string. Some pains are not caused by others, but because we have forgotten to nourish our mental well-being. At such times, self-love is the first step to healing, like a gentle rain falling on parched ground. That moisture seeps into every layer of soil, and plants will sprout again. The soul is the same. It only needs timely care to revive. A warm cup of tea by the window can become a lifebuoy to help the mind find peace. A deep breath in the middle of a long day can soothe the fatigue quietly burning in the chest. From a Buddhist perspective, self-love is not only about caring for body and mind, but also about sowing good seeds. When we treat ourselves kindly, the seed of peace is sown. When we pause before anger to avoid harsh words to ourselves, we are sowing seeds of compassion. When we don't push ourselves too hard to become someone else, we are cultivating self-reliance. These seeds will one day blossom into flowers of wisdom, helping us to look at life with a lighter heart. Sometimes we think self-love is selfish, but in reality, self-love is the foundation for loving others. An empty cup cannot pour water for anyone. An exhausted soul cannot bring peace to those around it. A person who knows when to stop, who knows how to preserve their energy, can spread light to others. Therefore, self-love is the deepest responsibility each person must learn. And then, on that journey, we will understand that taking care of ourselves is not a luxury. It is a way to keep our life's boat steady against the waves. It is a way to keep our heart from trembling when the winds of change blow. It is a way to keep the inner sunlight shining every day. There will be times when we are weak, times when we want to give up, times when we feel unworthy. But at such times, remember this gentle reminder for yourself. Embrace yourself with sincerity. Tell yourself that you are still trying, and that effort deserves recognition. Let your heart understand that it is not alone. In days when the light seems to fade, return to your breath. Breath is the safest refuge. Each time we inhale, we welcome life. Each time we exhale, we release what weighs us down. Just 1 minute truly living in the breath, the mind can be more at peace than hours of worry. Each gentle breath is a step back to ourselves. When we learn to love ourselves, external fluctuations become less intense. The wind still blows, and the rain still falls. But the mind is not swept away. We stand in the midst of the storm, yet maintain a quiet corner of our sky. That is the power of self-care. That is the gift we give ourselves. Finally, as evening falls and all noise subsides, take a moment to look deep into your heart. See what you have endured, what you have experienced, and what you have overcome. Smile at yourself the way a good friend would smile. Be grateful that no matter how many times you fell, you still stood up and found your way back to peace. When you don't abandon yourself, your whole life will become warmer. When you know when to stop, your mind will no longer be tired. Self-love is a long journey, but every step is worthwhile, because each step brings you closer to awareness and inner freedom. And when you understand all this, you will gently realize that peace is not found where you go, but in how you treat yourself. There are days when people feel more tired than they think, not because they are overworked or because life is too heavy, but because they keep trying to make everything around them conform to their will, to be perfect, to be beautiful, to make them feel comfortable. We want everyone to like us, understand us, love us, and no one to be disappointed in us. We want everything to go exactly according to the plan we've laid out in our minds, not deviating an inch, not having any unexpected ripples. Then, when things don't go according to the straight path we desire, our hearts become tangled, like a mess of thread blown by the wind into a treetop. The more we try to hold on, the more tired we become. The more we want things our way, the more restless we feel. That is a truth of life that almost everyone has experienced, just to different degrees. There are very long nights when we lie looking at the ceiling and wonder why people are so hard to understand, why work today was so chaotic, why the things we tried so hard to do well weren't recognized, why the people we wholeheartedly supported didn't always stand by us. Question after question. Each question like a small stone falling onto a calm lake, making the water of the soul ripple with waves. The more we seek reasons, the bigger the waves, and the deeper our hearts are drawn into the whirlpool of overthinking. That's also when we most clearly realize one thing. What makes us suffer is not what happens, but how we want things to happen our way. If viewed through the eyes of the Buddha, things that don't go as desired are manifestations of impermanence. Everything flows like water, slipping through the hands, never fully retaining a single moment. People change, feelings change, weather changes, luck changes, even we ourselves change day by day. If we constantly try to maintain a fixed state and call it as desired, that is the cause of suffering. The Four Noble Truths teach us that suffering has a cause, and that cause lies in craving, in wanting, in clinging to the things we hope for. When we want others to fully understand our hearts, when we want everything to unfold exactly according to the plan we've drawn up, when we want everyone to love us, then we are putting our hearts in a box that is too tight, to the point where it has no room to breathe. If we look at it from the perspective of cause and effect, every encounter in life is the result of many good and bad karmic seeds accumulated over a long time. Some people like us, some dislike us, some love us, but cannot stay. Some we treat with all our heart, but they remain indifferent. These things are not our fault, nor are they theirs. That is duyen, karmic connection. If the connection is strong enough, we understand each other with just a glance. If the connection is not strong enough, we can explain 100 times, and people still won't believe us. When we look at everything with this perspective of karmic connection, we will feel lighter in our hearts. We no longer blame ourselves for not being perfect, nor do we blame others for not meeting our expectations. We simply see everything flowing along its rightful course. But we are human. Humans always crave to be loved, to be recognized, to be held in the hearts of others. We want everyone to like us because we fear abandonment. We want everyone to understand us because we fear loneliness. We want everything to go our way because we fear failure. It is fear itself that makes us more stubborn. We think that if we try a little harder, if we strive to please others a little more, if we do everything even more correctly, then people will like us, and what we want will come true. But life doesn't work that way. Life has shade and sun, people who love and people who hate. There are times when rain falls just when we hoped for sun. There's a biting wind when we wanted warmth. Life is like that. It doesn't follow anyone's will, not even our own. En Hung's story is a very familiar example of this suffering. En Hung is a very capable girl, responsible and careful in everything she does. Many people praise her as sweet, gentle, and caring. At work, she always tries to be someone no one can criticize. When colleagues ask for help, even if busy, she tries to assist. When her boss assigns more work, even if overwhelmed, she nods her head. When friends invite her out, even if tired, she reluctantly joins because she fears being called aloof. At home, she also tries to fulfill her filial duties, trying not to upset anyone. On the surface, everyone thought En Hung must be very happy because she was liked by everyone. But deep down, she was so tired that every morning when she woke up, her heart felt like a compressed stone. One day, En Hung had to run from one meeting room to another, constantly replying to messages and dealing with an avalanche of work. At noon, she quickly ate a lunchbox, looking at her phone while eating for fear of missing someone's request. In the evening, her friend invited her for coffee. She didn't want to go because her whole body was exhausted, but she reluctantly agreed. During that meeting, a friend looked at her and casually remarked that not everyone can like you. Sometimes people simply don't like you because you're not their type. Nung heard it, and it was like an awakening. She chuckled. For the first time in years, she felt a long breath escape her. That moment was like a drop of water falling onto a dusty lake, making the water beneath clearer. She realized that all this time she hadn't been living to live, but to chase the shadow of attachment. She wanted everyone to think well of her, so she didn't allow herself to make mistakes. She wanted to maintain all relationships, so she didn't allow herself to refuse. She wanted to be loved, so she didn't dare show her fatigue. All these efforts did not make her life better, but only turned her heart into a battlefield of weariness. When she admitted that no one can please everyone, she felt her heart expand like a field, welcoming the first breeze of autumn. If people look deeply within themselves, like Nhung, they will see that the suffering from wanting everything to go as desired is a very subtle kind of suffering. It creeps into our minds as gently as the sound of leaves, but when it stays for long, it becomes a mountain. If we don't realize it in time, we will keep climbing that mountain until we are exhausted. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. When we cling to things that are not real, we suffer. When we cling to expectations, we suffer. When we cling to the image of ourselves in the eyes of others, we suffer. When we cling to the idea that others must love us, understand us, and appreciate us in the way we want, we suffer even more. The more the mind clings, the more it worries, the more it overthinks. The more the mind grasps, the more it hurts. The more the mind desires, the more restless it becomes. But don't rush to blame yourself for clinging. Humans are born into the cycle of desire and fear. Everyone has wanted to hold on to something. Everyone has wanted to be praised, loved, accepted. This desire is not wrong. The mistake is when we let that desire lead our entire life, making us spin in a whirlpool of worry and overthinking. We cannot stop the mind from wanting, but we can learn to gently observe it, like watching a river flow. Not clinging, not chasing, not resisting. When we know how to look at everything with such a calm mind, we will see that life doesn't force us to work so hard. Life doesn't demand us to be perfect. Life doesn't force us to be someone everyone likes. Life just wants us to live authentically, to live in accordance with the good heart within us, to live like a flower, blooming in its season. A flower doesn't try to make anyone like it. It just blooms when it needs to bloom, and withers when it needs to wither. Yet so many people still love it. Humans are the same. When we live true to our hearts, we naturally attract those with whom we share a connection. When we live comfortably, others also feel comfortable around us. When we relax, everything naturally becomes more pleasant. There are times when you have tried very hard to keep everything exactly as you wished. Yet the harder you tried, the more things went wrong. A feeling of helplessness arises in your heart, accompanied by doubt about where you went wrong. You don't realize that this deviation doesn't come from your carelessness, but from the natural laws of life. Nothing can remain perpetually within the framework we draw. Everything moves, expands, contracts, changes, and then returns to its rightful place, not the place we want it to be. If you pay attention, you will see that a lake is only still when no hand stirs it. Water is not calm because of human control. It becomes calm naturally when it is allowed to be in its natural state. The human mind is like that lake. The more you try to force it to be still, the more it churns. The more you want it to go your way, the more agitated it becomes. Only when we step back and allow the mind to breathe, to settle, will it naturally return to its inherent stillness. When you cling to the belief that everything must go exactly as you wish, you put yourself in an endless battle. You become a soldier standing in the desert, trying to shield every grain of sand, trying to cover every empty space, trying to hold on to everything. But the wind still blows as it wills. The sand still flies as it wills. The more you strain, the more your arms tire. The more you resist, the longer the night becomes. It's not until you lay down your sword that you realize that battle never had a winner. People suffer not because life is too harsh, but because in their hearts, they have a perfect standard for how everything should happen. They forget that the most perfect thing is precisely the imperfection of life. A crooked branch still blossoms. A scarred leaf still greets the sun every day. A winding stream still leads to the great sea. What makes life beautiful is not flawlessness, but the ability to continue to shine amidst things that don't go as desired. Try to remember how many things didn't go exactly as you wanted, but ultimately led you to a better place. How many people left and broke your heart? But now they are gone, and more deserving people have appeared. How many plans fell apart? But that very collapse helped you discover a more suitable path. Every deviation in life may very well be subtly guiding you to your destined destination. Like a small stream blocked by a rock, it doesn't stop. It doesn't smash against the rock until it breaks. It doesn't try to force the rock to move. It just gently turns in another direction, then continues to flow, continues to go, continues to be itself. That lack of stubbornness allows it to travel further than even raging floods, because it knows how to compromise with nature instead of rebelling against nature. People often think that letting go is a failure, but the truth is, letting go is a form of growth. Letting go is when you understand that what needs to stay will stay, and what needs to leave will leave. Letting go is when you accept that you cannot control everything, but you can control how you react to everything. Letting go is how you return life to life and return peace to yourself. Have you ever placed your hand on your chest and wondered why you always have to be so tired? Why you always have to force everything to go your way, even though it clearly can't be that way? Perhaps it's because you think that if things don't go as desired, life will be chaotic. But chaos only comes from how you perceive what is happening. Life is not chaotic at all. Only your mind is chaotic. You can easily see that when your mind is clear, you will understand that everything happens for a reason. When your mind is steady, others' words cannot sway you. When your mind is calm, undesirable things cannot make you chaotic. Your mind creates your world. When the mind is at peace, the scene is at peace. When the mind is chaotic, the scene is chaotic. Therefore, what you need is not to make life peaceful, but to make your mind peaceful. No need to change everything. Just change yourself. No need to make everything go your way. Just let everything be in its true nature. You can imagine yourself as a leaf drifting on a river. If you try to cling to a branch because you fear what lies ahead, you will remain stuck. But if you let the water carry you, you will see bends, clearings, and peaceful spaces you've never seen before. The leaf doesn't argue with the water. It doesn't fear changing direction. It doesn't worry about taking the wrong path. It just goes and accepts that the river knows the way better than it does. Similarly, life knows where you need to go better than you do. Life knows when you need to meet whom. Life knows what needs to happen first, what needs to happen later. Life has its own rhythm, which you only need to listen to instead of controlling. Perhaps it's time for you to gently let your heart settle and let everything flow with the breath of nature. Don't try to hold on to what wants to leave. Don't try to cling to what is wavering. Don't try to salvage what has run its course. Let life choose what is right for you. Let time take you where you need to go. Let your heart become lighter each day instead of burdening it with unnecessary desires. One morning, when you open your eyes and feel your heart strangely peaceful, you will understand that from the moment you stopped clinging, life began to change. Not because everything immediately got better, but because you had entered a different state. The state of someone who doesn't need to control life, but only needs to reside in themselves. The state of someone who understands that life's truth is greater than the heart's truth. The state of someone who knows that flowing with nature is always the most sustainable path. When you stop clinging, you lose nothing. You only regain the tranquility that you have long mistakenly placed in things that don't belong to you. There are days you wake up feeling heavy in your heart without understanding why. You look around life and see everyone seemingly a step ahead of you. People have nicer homes, more luxurious lives, more stable careers, hearts that find peace more easily. These things silently form a gray cloud covering your mind, as if you are standing under the shadow of an endless rain. Even if the sky outside is sunny, inside you still feel cold. Even if life opens up many paths, you still feel like you're left behind. That feeling isn't something everyone dares to express, but almost everyone has experienced it at some point in their lives. The hurt of seeing others doing better than you is a very human thing. The comparative mind is not because you are bad, but because you are human. This psychology is sown from childhood. Adults praise one child for being smarter than another. They unintentionally place two lives on a scale, without understanding that this measurement will follow the child until adulthood. As we grow up, society continues to use that same yardstick to judge. You look at others and wonder why they can do what you haven't done. You look at yourself and think you're not good enough. From that, you create a silent race within your heart. And that race has never brought true victory. According to Buddhist philosophy, comparison arises from ignorance and craving. Ignorance makes us unable to see the true nature of life. We think others are happier than us, but fail to see the suffering they hide. We think their life's path is smooth, but fail to see the stones they have trod upon. We only see flowers blooming at others' feet, but not the days they had to walk through rain and wind to get those flowers. Craving, in turn, creates endless desires. We want more. We want praise. We want success. We want recognition. This very desire pulls us away from the present and makes our minds drift into a state of lack. Once there is a sense of lack in the heart, comparison will sprout and grow like a weed. Try to review the 4 truths of life that the Buddha once pointed out. Life is suffering when we bind ourselves with things that do not truly belong to us. Suffering arises from unfulfilled desires. When we compare, we want what others have. When we want and do not get, our mind generates suffering. If we understand impermanence, that everything changes, we will know that what others have today is not necessarily happiness tomorrow. If we understand cause and effect, we will know that each person's life operates according to their own karma, and no one is like anyone else. We cannot use another person's path as a standard for our own journey. Everyone has their own test. No one can cheat on anyone else's score. The story of Mr. Pooh and his wealthy neighbor also began one afternoon, like any other. 2 houses stood side by side. On one side was Mr. Pooh's house, simple and modest. On the other was his neighbor's house, a more successful person, with a beautiful car, a stable job, a life that Mr. Pooh had long admired. Every morning, when he opened his door, Mr. Pooh looked at that house and felt his heart sink, as if someone had dropped a stone into the bottom of a lake. He didn't hate his neighbor. He just didn't understand why his own life wasn't as beautiful. He worked hard. He lived gently, yet happiness seemed to favor others more than him. One day, the house next door suddenly became unusually quiet. There was no sound of a car starting, no familiar laughter. A long time later, Mr. Pooh saw an ambulance arrive. The neighbor was taken away, looking haggard, his face pale from exhaustion. It turned out that for many years, that person had been so consumed by work that he forgot to eat and sleep. The success Mr. Pooh saw was only a small piece of the picture. Behind it were worries, pressure, loneliness, and fatigue that no one knew about. That day, when the car door closed, a strange feeling arose in Mr. Pooh's heart. It was not schadenfreude, not relief, but understanding. He realized that what he had been seeing all this time was only the surface. And the chushta important thing is that everyone has their own suffering that we never fully see. From that day on, Mr. Pooh began to look at life with different eyes. He noticed his wife still made him a hot cup of tea in the morning. He saw his child running playfully in the yard with a full, round smile. He saw that their simple meal was full of warmth. These things had always been there, but because of comparison, he had never truly acknowledged them. He realized that he lacked nothing to be happy. He just had never stopped to see it. You might see yourself somewhere in Mr. Pooh's story. Everyone's life is like 2 houses standing next to each other. If you only look at someone else's house, you will forget the sunlight shining into your own. Comparison makes you overlook the bright spots in your life. You don't see what you've achieved. You don't see what you have. You don't see the flowers blooming at your feet. You keep looking into the distance and assume that beautiful flowers only bloom there. The truth is that everyone has their own karma. Some carry the karma of challenges to grow. Some carry the karma of repaying debts to lighten their hearts. Some carry the karma of sowing good connections to make their lives more peaceful. You cannot use another person's life to impose on your own. Each person walks their own path. Each person bears their own footsteps. Each raindrop has its own trajectory as it falls to the earth. Each gust of wind has its own path as it crosses the sky. Each person has a unique soul experiencing life. Letting go of comparison is not easy. It's like letting go of an old habit deeply rooted in the mind. There will be times when you want to look at others again. There will be times when you blame yourself for not doing well enough. There will be times when you feel sorry for yourself. These are challenges on the journey of stillness of mind. The mind can only be at peace after experiencing agitation. The mind can only be clear after passing through darkness. If you find it difficult, that doesn't mean you are wrong. It means you are growing. The way to transform inner comparison begins by bringing yourself back to the present. Look at yourself as you would look at a seedling. Don't compare the seedling to a fully bloomed flower. Don't compare your today to someone else's today. Let yourself grow at your own pace. Look back and see how many seasons you've been through. Some seasons you bloomed, some you shed leaves, some you had to stand against the wind. All of it is an essential part of becoming who you are. If you know contentment, your heart will be light. If you are grateful, your mind will be bright. If you cherish what you have, you will find yourself richer than you think. Wealth is not money, but peace in your heart. Wealth is not achievement, but the ability to smile even when life is not as you wish. Wealth is not being superior to others, but understanding yourself. When you want to practice letting go of comparison, start by paying attention to your breath. Each time your mind drifts towards others, gently bring it back to yourself. Don't blame, don't force, just gently bring it back. Look at your hands and remember that no two hands are alike. Look at your feet and remember that no 2 feet walk at the same pace as yours. You walk your own way. You grow your own way. You are happy your own way. To lighten your heart, try to look at life with the eyes of someone who understands karma. Understand that what others have is due to the seeds they have sown. What you have is due to the seeds you have sown. No one can take another's blessings. No one can steal another's karmic connection. Happiness has its own path to each person. As long as you walk in your own direction, happiness will come at the right time. Ultimately, what you seek is not to be better than others. What you seek is a feeling of peace in your heart every time you close your eyes. It is the lightness of no longer putting pressure on yourself. It is the natural smile that appears when you feel you are enough. It is the gentleness in your eyes when you look at life with serenity instead of envy. If one day you find your heart strangely tranquil, remember that this tranquility comes from within you, from your choice to turn inward, from the moment you stop comparing, from when you know that the most beautiful flowers don't bloom in distant lands, but where you step every day. And from the moment you stop looking at others' lives, you will see your own life more beautiful than ever. There are days when we walk through life with our hearts feeling as if they carry invisible boulders. Each step becomes heavy due to old stories, faded relationships, and memories once so beautiful that we wanted to cling to them forever. But the more we cling, the more it hurts. Memories that were supposed to warm us turn into thorns. Many of us may have experienced this feeling. The sensation of wanting to hold on to what is familiar, yet also wanting to escape the very heartache that familiarity causes. Perhaps everyone has someone who no longer belongs to them, yet their heart refuses to let go. Like a rain that stopped long ago, but we still carry an umbrella. Like a leaf that has left its branch, but we still believe the wind will bring it back. This suffering is so familiar. Suffering because of unrequited love. Suffering because of hope without results. Suffering because we tried many times, but in the end, we are still the one standing in limbo. In those months, we often ask ourselves why we have to endure so much hurt. Why others only need one word to kill, while we carry an entire storm in our hearts. Why, when people turn their backs, we still stand behind them, hoping they will turn around just once. That pain is like a swift current. The more we struggle, the more exhausted we become. Even though we know reality has changed, our heart keeps returning to the old place, like a child stubbornly clinging to a broken toy, hoping it will heal itself. The cause of these sorrows, if seen with meditative eyes, lies not only in feelings, but in how we cling. Humans have a habit of clinging to what is familiar, even if it is suffering. In Buddhist doctrine, this is called craving and clinging, I-thu. We love and then we cling, thinking that holding on means permanence, lastingness. But everything in life is impermanent. Nothing can remain still under the flow of time. Relationships are the same. Emotions are the same. People are the same. What we try to hold on to will eventually leave in its own way. We hurt not because of loss, but because we don't accept this law. It's like trying to hold a grain of sand in the palm of your hand. The tighter you clench, the faster the sand slips away. But when you relax your hand, the grain of sand rests peacefully. The karmic connection between two people is also something no one can resist. If there's a connection, they come. When it ends, they leave. But we want to fight against that, thinking that we are patient enough will keep someone, or that a lot of love will make that heart return. But karma doesn't operate according to wishes. It operates according to laws. There is a cause, there is an effect, there is a connection, there is presence. Once the connection is exhausted, no matter how much you cling, the result is still separation. We suffer because we wish for the old to return to the present. We suffer because we think we can use effort to fight against the truth of impermanence. But the truth is no one can keep a person who no longer wants to stay. When we understand impermanence and understand karmic connections, we realize that the art of letting go is not a lesson about loss, but a lesson about freedom. Letting go is not giving up the other person. Letting go is giving freedom back to yourself. Letting go is not ceasing to love. Letting go is loving so much that you don't want to hurt yourself any further. Sometimes, letting go is the pinnacle of love, because that is when we understand that clinging only leaves long-lasting wounds. On that day, Ms. Vi went through such a long journey. A gentle woman, yet carrying in her heart too many fragments of a love that no longer had warmth. Ms. Vi loved that person for many years, loved with the sincerity of a gentle, enduring, hard-working woman. She had waited, cried, hoped, believed that if she tried a little more, if she was a little more patient, everything would change. But she was the only one trying. That person had left her heart long ago. Only she remained. She was like a bird, endlessly chasing the shadow of a ship that had sunk beneath the sunset. In her heart, the feelings were still there, but along with those feelings were weariness, disappointment, and nights when she no longer had the strength to breathe normally. Then, one afternoon, as the wind gently blew through the window, Ms. Vi sat in her quiet room and suddenly realized that she was utterly exhausted. Her body was tired. Her soul was tired. The pain of months and years had built up in her heart. She looked at the phone on the table and suddenly understood that it was time to end it. Not to end the love, but to end the journey of self-suffering. She decided to make one last call to him. A call she knew would have no clinging words, no accusations, no expectations, only a gentle release, like a leaf at the end of autumn choosing to leave its branch, not because of a strong wind, but because the leaf knew it was time to return to the earth. The phone rang in the silent room, each ring like a heavy beat of her heart. When he picked up, his voice was normal, neither happy nor sad. As for her, this time her voice was strangely peaceful. Ms. Vi said just one sentence: "Thank you for coming into my life." Nothing more. No promises, no hopes, no attempts to hold on to anything. She stopped, took a deep breath, and then hung up. In that moment, her tears fell, but strangely. It wasn't the pain choking in her chest as many times before. This time, the tears were light, warm, and peaceful. She cried as if shedding all the burdens she had carried for too long. Cried to erase the days of endurance. Cried to say goodbye to her own hurt. When the tears stopped, her heart felt light as a breeze, a fragile yet profound peace that she felt immediately. Letting go is not ceasing to love. Letting go is having hurt enough. And finally, she did what she once thought she couldn't do. The art of letting go is not an easy lesson to learn. People can understand it intellectually, but putting it into practice is another matter. We can advise others to let go. But when we ourselves are in pain, we cling more fiercely than anyone, because the fear of loss is always greater than the desire for freedom. We fear loneliness, fear emptiness, fear that when we let go, there will be nothing left in our hands. We fear starting over, fear living a life without someone who was once so familiar. We fear because we forget that we ourselves are the widest sky we can lean on. But truly, letting go is the only path to healing. As long as we cling tightly, we will be hurt by expectations. As long as we hold on, we will be controlled by things we cannot control. Letting go is like opening the door for the heart to breathe, like taking off a wet coat after a heavy rain to let the body warm up again, like setting down a burden carried throughout a long journey to lighten the shoulders a little more. Human life has countless sorrows, but most of them stem from us hurting ourselves by refusing to let go. Letting go is accepting that some things come to teach us a lesson, not to stay with us forever. Letting go is understanding that people are born to walk with us for a while, not for an entire lifetime. Letting go is knowing that holding on to something whose connection has ended is like holding a withered flower. You cannot make it bloom again. Letting go is loving yourself enough not to continue enduring what makes you tired. When we let go, we lose nothing. We are just returning what no longer belongs to us to its rightful place. But the journey of letting go is never easy. We will have sleepless nights filled with longing. We will have days of feeling lost because we are used to having someone by our side. There will be moments when we instinctively pick up the phone only to put it down. There will be times when our heart aches at an old song, a familiar road, a fleeting scent. But these are all challenges of transformation. What lotus never passed through mud? What human never overcame pain to reach peace? Every pain is a lesson. Every tear is a purification. Every moment of weakness is a step to become stronger. The core of meditation teaches that all emotions come and go. No emotion lasts forever. So the pains of today will also dissipate. When we are patient enough to go through them, to let go, we need to learn to turn inward instead of outward. Breathe deeply. Look at the pain without running away. Allow yourself to cry, but don't let yourself drown in tears. Gently place your hand on your heart to feel its weariness, and whisper that it's time for it to rest. Tell yourself that not everything you want will belong to you, and that's not your fault. Give yourself the compassion you once reserved for others. And remember that peace is not found in holding on to someone. Peace is found in holding on to yourself. One way to practice letting go is mindfulness. When your mind keeps racing back to the past, pull it back to the present with your breath. When memories flood back, acknowledge them, but don't cling to them. When you miss someone, place your hand on your chest and say, "I am still here." When you feel like texting, pause for a moment and ask if you're hoping for an answer or fearing loneliness. When you hurt, tell yourself that this pain is also teaching you to grow. When you feel weak, know that it's not a step backward, but part of the healing process. Gradually, you will realize that when your hand no longer tightly grasps the past, the future has room to enter. Your mind is like a room. If you keep old things forever, the room will be so cramped that there's no space for new things to appear. Only when you would clear your heart will you see the sunlight stream in. Only when you will put down the broken pieces will your hand be light enough to receive something better. And only when you let go of what hurts you can happiness find its way. Letting go is not an end. Letting go is a comma, so you can continue writing your life in a different way. Like a tree in the wind must shed a few leaves to welcome a new spring. Like a river, it must flow through many rough sections to find its calm waters. Like the human heart must break a few times to understand what true peace is. If right now you are carrying pain like Ms. V, give yourself a chance to lighten up. Believe that you deserve serenity. Believe that when one door closes, it's not life turning its back on you, but life gently pushing you forward to a more suitable path. Believe that one day you will sit in the cool breeze, look back at the old road, and smile because you finally chose freedom. Believe that eventually someone will come at the right time, in the right way, with the right karmic connection. But before that happens, you must first learn to return to yourself. You must know how to place your hand on your heart and say, "I am enough." calm your mind, breathe deeply, smile, and allow yourself to let go. Because the more we let go, the more free we become. And the more free we are, the closer we get to ourselves, where peace has never abandoned us. There are pains in life that no one needs to teach us. We just need to touch them, and we understand, like a hand accidentally touching hot water. No matter how strong we are, our instinct will make us pull back. No need to think, no need to struggle. No one needs to tell us to stop. The body instinctively knows how to protect itself. The human heart is actually similar. As long as we can bear it, we try. As long as we hope for a little warmth, we cling. But when the pain is enough, we instantly let go. This letting go is not learned in a day, nor is it achieved by listening to someone's advice. It comes from our own experience, from the times we are hurt to the point where we can't bear another beat of pain. Many of us live in a relationship that is no longer healthy, no longer warm, but still try to stay because we fear loneliness, fear loss, fear having to start over. We convince ourselves that everything will be okay, that the other person will change, that we will be less sad. But the longer we stay, the more easily the heart is eroded by the wind. The longer we wait, the longer the pain lingers, like a rain that refuses to stop. Rainwater falls in continuous waves, soaking into every layer of clothing, into every tired breath. Then, one day, we look back and realize we have strayed too far from ourselves. We are no longer as happy as before, no longer innocent, no longer clear. We are like a tree bent by the wind, trying to stand, but its roots are weary. We stay out of love, but love, misunderstood, becomes shackles. We endure thinking it's a sacrifice, but sometimes that very endurance wears down the heart. The causes of these pains, if examined under the light of Buddhist teachings, lie rooted in craving, I, and clinging, thu. Craving is passionate desire. Clinging is holding on. When we love someone, we often attach many expectations to them. We expect them to be a haven of peace. We expect them to understand us. We expect them not to leave. But the more we expect, the more easily we are disappointed. In the Four Noble Truths, all suffering has a cause. The suffering of love lies in desiring more than the ability to accept reality. We wish for what is not in our hands. We want to cling to karmic connections when they have run their course. We cling to a person when the karma between two people has nearly been repaid. And so we suffer. Impermanence is also what makes us tired. It's not that the other person is son or uncaring. It's simply that human emotions constantly change, like the unpredictable rain and sun. Today it's warm. Tomorrow it might be cold. Last month we wanted to be together. Next month we might want to leave. But we try to hold everything tightly, as if to make time stand still. The more we hold, the more it hurts. The more we deny impermanence, the more brokenness we face. We are not wrong for wanting to love, but we suffer because we forget that everything has its limits. Even our hearts have limits. Water in a cup, when too hot, forces us to put it down. Feelings, when too painful, will naturally make us stop. That is the instinct of growth. We grow not when we learn to endure longer, but when we know when to stop before the hurt becomes too deep. Mr. Lamb's story is an example. One peaceful morning, he stood in the kitchen, water gently simmering on the stove, hot steam rising like a thin mist in the sunlight. Mr. Lamb usually made himself a hot pot of tea before starting his day. Tea, to him, was a small friend that helped his mind settle before the busyness of work. That day, as he poured the tea, his hand slipped slightly, and a splash of hot water poured onto the back of his hand. His first reaction was not thought, not questioning, but to immediately pull his hand back. He gasped from the sting, but then chuckled at his own quick reaction. That simple moment reminded him of another story from his own life. Years ago, he clung to a relationship that had lost its warmth. He tried so hard that he forgot himself, tried to the point where every night he came home, he would ask himself what he had done wrong. He tried to the point where his heart was cracked, yet he kept telling himself to try a little more. But the other person was no longer with him in heart. Only he was chasing a fading shadow that diminished with time, until one day he hurt so much that he couldn't bear it anymore. It wasn't a major event, not an argument, not a clear breakup. It was just one afternoon. When he walked home, he suddenly felt empty and too tired to even hope. He sat down by the window, closed his eyes, and took a very slow breath to hold on to the last bit of peace in his heart. And that feeling was exactly like when hot water had just spilled on his hand. So painful that instinct took over and told him it was time to stop. It was time to leave. Not because he no longer loved, but because loving for too long had become exhausting. That day, Mr. Lamb let go without a word of resentment, without a single accusation, blaming neither the other person nor himself. He simply felt that his heart had reached its final limit. He knew that if he tried a little more, the wound in his heart would deepen, and when too deep, it would be difficult to heal. The philosophy of life from his story is this: things that hurt us will themselves give us an answer. We don't need anyone to tell us to let go. We just need to listen to our own hearts. When it has hurt so much that it no longer wants to hold on, it will naturally release. Letting go is a natural journey, like day turning into night. No one can control the sun, and no one can control the moment the heart chooses to let go. Letting go is not failure. Letting go is the beginning of freedom. But to reach letting go, one must go through countless challenges. We must face the truth that pain is real. We must face the feeling of emptiness when we realize that someone who was once important no longer belongs to us. We must face ourselves when we see our own weakness. All these things are necessary challenges, like a mountain climber who must pass through sharp rocks to reach the peak. No one reaches peace without passing through weariness. There are days when we feel like a leaf torn from its branch by the wind, exposed, without support, not knowing where we will fall. But no matter where the leaf falls, the earth still welcomes it. No matter how much we hurt, life is still gentle in its own way. Happiness doesn't abandon anyone. It just comes after the pain, after the storm, after we have learned the lessons we needed to learn. After understanding that, we can begin the healing process. Healing begins by looking directly at the pain. Don't run away. Don't suppress. Let your mind breathe. Let your heart have the right to be sad. Then slowly observe why you are hurting. When you look deeply into the root, you will see that all suffering has a reason. Sometimes it's because we expect too much. Sometimes it's because we haven't learned to let go of things that tire us. Sometimes it's because we don't understand ourselves enough. When we know the cause, we will feel lighter. Use mindfulness to return to the present. Take a slow and deep breath. See that right now, you are still alive. You still have the opportunity to start over. You still have enough karmic connections to take care of yourself. Don't force yourself to be strong immediately. Strength is not about not crying, but about knowing when to wipe away tears. If you're tired, rest a little. If you're sad, allow yourself to stop. Life is not a race. Sometimes standing still for a moment helps us see the path more clearly. If possible, open your heart and ask for help. No one is born to endure everything alone. Those who love us always want to be with us, if only we give them the chance. To find more peace, practice identifying the small, precious things around you. A gentle ray of morning sun and the warm scent of tea in the kitchen. The soft chirping of birds on the porch. A sincere inquiry. A hug. A moment where you can be truly yourself. When you appreciate every small thing, your heart will warm and your pain will soften. If possible, spend some time sitting quietly every day. Let your breath become the friend that guides you back. When your mind is at peace, life will naturally become less turbulent. Finally, remember that no pain is meaningless, no tear is wasted, and no hurt comes only to make us collapse. Suffering comes to remind us to grow, to remind us how strong we are, and to teach us to love ourselves and others with a deeper heart. If today you are sad, believe that you are steadily becoming stronger, bit by bit. If today you are in pain, believe that you are stepping through a new door. On this journey, gently hold your own hand. Walk slowly to hear the voice of your heart clearly. Every pain you experience is transforming into light within you. One day, you will look back and smile, understanding that thanks to those dark days, you can illuminate your life with a truly mature and peaceful soul. There are days when people wake up with a feeling of emptiness in their hearts, not because anything grand is missing, but simply because the heart is tired from long thoughts, tired of worrying about tomorrow that hasn't arrived, tired of carrying burdens that don't belong to them, tired of having to be strong even when all they want is to stop for a moment to breathe. Life sometimes is just like that. People walk through crowded streets and still feel lonely. They offer a very gentle smile, but inside they are like parched earth, long without rain. They try to run after, seeking happiness, but sometimes they overlook the very ordinary moments happening right before their eyes. If you have ever had such moments, you are not alone. Anyone living this life has accumulated many things, feeling their heart heavy like a gray cloud before a storm. Our mind is like a lake. When the wind of worry blows through, the water immediately ripples with waves. When sorrows come, the mud at the bottom of the lake is stirred up, making us unable to see the clear depths. People often suffer from overthinking, thinking about what has passed that we cannot change, thinking about what has not yet come that we cannot control, thinking about what others say, about how others look at us, about things completely unrelated to our true worth. Every thought, when it goes too far, becomes a needle pricking the heart. The more these needles accumulate, the deeper the pain. According to Buddhist teachings, the root of suffering is clinging. Clinging to desires, clinging to the phantom of what is lost, clinging to an outcome we want to force life to deliver exactly as we wish. Clinging to the people we love even though they no longer belong to us. And clinging to old wounds even though they serve no purpose other than to weigh down our hearts. Impermanence is still the nature of life. Everything changes. Everything flows. Everything is impermanent. What remains is how we look at those changes. If we cling too tightly to what is leaving, our hand will hurt. If we stubbornly hold on to memories that no longer nourish us, our mind will be tired. It's like a bag that's already full, and we keep trying to stuff more into it. Eventually, it will just tear. Stillness of mind is not escapism. Stillness of mind is not living superficially. Stillness of mind is knowing to put down what needs to be put down, knowing to keep what is worth keeping, and not letting unhealthy thoughts carry us away like a fire swept by a strong wind. When our mind is calm, we no longer chase storms. We become the shade under an ancient tree. When the wind blows, we hear the wind. When the rain falls, we let it fall. The earth, even if wet, will eventually dry. Life, even if turbulent, will eventually find peace. The important thing is whether our heart can maintain its inner clarity. But that journey isn't easy. People know impermanence, but still fear loss. People know how to let go, but still want to cling. People know that overthinking only hurts them, but still can't stop pondering. The path to peace is not always paved with roses. Sometimes it's gravel. Sometimes it's headwinds. Sometimes it's weary steps, not knowing when they will arrive. And sometimes the very wounds of the past make us falter. We fear being hurt again, fear being dropped again, fear confronting the deep-seated loneliness within. Yet, these very difficulties are our silent teachers, like mountains that seem too high to overcome. But once we stand on the peak, we understand how strong we are, like a stormy region that seems endless. But when the sun breaks through, a rainbow appears as a gift for those who didn't give up. The human soul is the same. Wounds that seemed to knock us down are actually the fertile ground for sowing understanding. Falls that seemed like an end are the beginning of a stronger version of ourselves later on. If we had never walked in darkness, we would not appreciate the light. If we had never experienced pain, we would not know how important love is. Stillness of mind does not come from having a perfect life. It comes from knowing how to look at life with softer eyes. Don't try to run away from sadness. Let it pass. Don't hate injuries. Let them teach you something. Don't force yourself to be strong all the time. Stop and place your hand on your chest. Feel your breath going in and out. Understand that you are still alive, still have the opportunity to start over. Each breath is a gift. Each peaceful moment is a flower blooming right at your feet. For your mind to be at peace, you need to choose what stays in your heart. Keep gratitude, keep kindness, keep the beautiful memories that once uplifted you. Keep the people who make you feel worthy of love. And lay down the things that once caused you suffering. Lay down the words that hurt you. Lay down the people who only made you more tired. Lay down the expectations that don't belong to your life. When your hands are empty, you can receive new things. When your heart is light, you can go further. Practicing stillness of mind every day is not a distant goal. You can start with very small things. Sit quietly for a few minutes each morning to observe your breath. When your mind is agitated, listen without judgment. When negative thoughts arise, name them and let them pass like a cloud floating across the sky. When you are sad, tell yourself that sadness is also a part of life. When you feel empty, say that emptiness is just a pause for the mind to recharge its strength. If you feel heavy-hearted, step outside and breathe fresh air. Let the morning light touch your face. Let the wind carry away some of your melancholy. There is no single, correct, or perfect practice. The important thing is to choose a way that helps your heart relax. Don't think you have to change quickly. Go slow. Take measured steps. Let each day be a gift instead of a race. Each time you know how to return to your breath, you have calmed your mind. Each time you know how to smile at yourself, you have calmed your mind. Each time you put down a thought that makes you tired, you have calmed your mind. This is not some profound enlightenment, but simply kindness to yourself. And then, when you develop the habit of peace amidst the noise, you will find life much gentler. You will find that worries are no longer as strong as before. You will find the pains no longer weigh on your shoulders. You will find that rainy days are also beautiful in their own way. You will find that those who hurt you are also just people carrying many other wounds in their hearts. When you understand, you are light. When you are light, you are peaceful. When you are peaceful, you radiate an energy that makes life gentler towards you. Happiness is not truly found in grand things. It lies in every small moment where you allow your heart to be at ease. Happiness is not in tomorrow or a vague future. It lies right in this very moment, in the sound of the wind rustling through the eaves, in a hot cup of morning tea, in the gentle eyes of a loved one, in the moment you know to let go of what is unnecessary and keep what is valuable. When you know how to cherish the present, life immediately blossoms like a gentle field waiting. If you are hearing these words, I want you to know that the path to peace is always there for you. Even if today you are tired, even if you are lost, even if you have strayed too far from yourself, just stop for a moment. Just place your hand on your heart and say that you deserve peace. Everything will change. The storm will pass. The long night will turn into daybreak. You just need to hold a small candle of faith in your heart. That candle will light your way through the darkest days. I wish you, who are listening to these words, a truly peaceful journey. I wish you a heart as light as the clouds in the sky. I wish you a soul spacious enough to embrace love. I wish you eyes that know how to look at life with kindness. And I wish you enough patience to find happiness that is very near. That happiness is not far away. It lies within you, just waiting for you to open your heart to receive it. When the mind settles, life immediately softens. When the heart lightens, footsteps also lighten. When you choose to live mindfully, the whole world within you will light up like sunlight shining on water. And you will know that you are enough. You are worthy. And you have completed a long journey to return to your inherent peace.